welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the world of global finance.
Okay.
We're exploring this concept
Sounds good.
called exorbitant privilege.
Yeah.
You sent us this academic paper titled, Has the U.S. Exorbitant Privilege Become a Rich World Privilege?
Okay.
And it was published by the World Inequality Lab in 2024. And it has some really thought-provoking findings in it.
Yeah.
By the end of this deep dive,
Okay.
you'll understand what exorbitant privilege is, how it operates,
Okay.
and what it means for the global economy.
Right.
But get ready for some surprises, though.
I'm ready.
So let's start with the basics.
Okay.
What exactly is exorbitant privilege?
Well, it essentially means richer countries earn a higher return on their foreign investments
Okay.
than what they pay on their foreign debts.
Oh,
Think of it as like a positive excess yield.
okay.
This creates a constant flow of income from poorer to richer countries.
So it's like this built-in advantage. That allows them to make more money from their investments overseas than they lose on their debts.
Exactly.
Okay. Sure.
Now, you might have heard exorbitant privilege used to describe the U.S. of the dollar's power,
Right.
which is true.
Yeah.
The term popped up in the 1960s,
Okay.
highlighting the advantages the U.S. enjoyed
Yeah.
as the issuer of the world's leading currency.
Right.
However,
Okay.
this research suggests things have shifted.
Is that where the rich world privilege part comes in?
Yes. This study,
Okay.
using data spanning back to 1970 from many countries, reveals that exorbitant privilege isn't a U.S.-only thing anymore.
Okay.
It's become a rich world phenomenon.
Interesting.
The Eurozone,
Yeah.
UK,
Okay.
Canada,
Yeah.
they all experience it now.
So there's this exclusive club of countries reaping these financial rewards.
Right.
But you mentioned the U.S. still gets the biggest piece of the pie. Why is that?
Well,
Does the dollar still hold that much sway?
that's a great question. And this study helps debunk some common myths around this.
Okay.
For starters,
Yeah.
it's not because rich countries are inherently superior investors.
Oh.
Their return on assets often falls below the global average.
So they're not pulling off these incredible investment strategies
Right.
that others can't.
Yeah, the research doesn't support that idea.
Okay.
And here's another myth.
Okay.
It's not about them taking on more risk either.
Oh.
Their investments tend to be less volatile,
Interesting.
not more.
Okay. So it's not about them being smarter or riskier with their money.
Right.
What is it then?
Well,
That's the secret sauce.
The key driver seems to be their ability to access cheaper debt.
Okay.
Rich countries consistently secure lower interest rates on their borrowings,
Okay.
both for public debt,
Okay.
like government bonds,
Yeah.
and private debt.
Okay. So they can borrow at low rates.
Yeah.
Invest that money,
Mhm.
and still come out ahead.
Right.
Even if their investments aren't yielding spectacular returns.
That's the crux of it.
Wow.
It's like a system that tilts in their favor.
Yeah.
This is where their central role in the global monetary system comes into play.
Okay.
Their currencies,
Mm-hmm.
especially the dollar and euro, are in
Yeah.
high demand.
Okay.
They're seen as safe and stable,
Right.
which makes them attractive to hold.
So it's like their money has this VIP status in the global financial world.
You could say that,
Yeah.
and it has major implications for how wealth is distributed globally.
You're saying this imbalance,
Yeah.
this exorbitant privilege leads to a transfer of wealth
Right.
from poorer countries to richer ones.
Uh-huh.
How significant is this transfer?
It's quite substantial.
Okay.
The researchers estimate this transfer equates to about 1% of rich countries' GDP annually.
Okay.
Now, imagine that money staying within developing economies.
That's a massive amount leaving those countries.
Right.
It makes you wonder how this affects their development and growth.
Absolutely. It acts as a constant drain on their resources.
Oh.
The study estimates it costs developing economies 2-3% of their GDP every year.
That's a heavy burden to carry.
Yeah.
Simply because of how the global financial system is structured. It's eye-opening to say the least.
For sure.
But how does it actually play out in the real world?
Ooh.
Can we see concrete examples of this?
Absolutely. The paper is full of real-world examples.
Okay.
For instance, comparing the G8,
Okay.
U.S.,
Yeah.
UK, Japan,
Okay.
etc.,
Right.
to the BRICS,
Okay.
Brazil,
Right.
Russia,
Yeah.
India,
Mm-hmm.
China,
Okay.
South Africa,
Yeah.
reveals a stark difference.
Okay.
The G8 consistently benefits from positive excess yields,
Okay.
while the BRICS haven't.
So we're talking about two different financial realities.
Yeah.
The haves and the have-nots.
Right.
Playing out on a global scale.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Wow.
And when we zoom in on individual countries,
Mm-hmm.
the contrast gets even sharper.
Okay, give us some specific examples.
Well, the U.S. could increase its debt by another 12%
Okay.
before it would start losing money on this imbalance.
Wow.
Germany could almost double its debt and still remain in the black.
Wow. That's a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
They can keep borrowing and still come out ahead.
Right.
Now compare that to a country like Brazil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would need to either drastically slash its debt
Wow.
by more than half
Jeez.
or massively increase its assets to even reach a break-even point.
That paints a pretty grim picture.
Yeah.
It seems like some countries are set up to win,
Yeah.
while others are constantly fighting an uphill battle.
Right.
We've talked about how these reserve currencies play a central role in this whole system, but I'm curious to understand the mechanics behind it.
Okay.
How do they give these rich countries such a significant advantage?
Yeah.
Let's dive into that a bit more.
Okay.
How do these currencies create such an uneven playing field? So we've established that these reserve currencies, like the dollar and the euro, are in high demand.
Right.
Because they're seen as safe and stable.
Yeah.
But how does that translate into this exorbitant privilege?
Well, think of it this way.
Okay.
Because everyone wants to hold dollars and euros.
Yeah.
These currencies play a crucial role in international transactions.
Okay.
Central banks around the world hold them as reserves.
Right.
And they're even used to price things like oil contracts.
So it's almost like having a global gold standard, but with paper money.
Right.
And because everyone needs these currencies, it
Yeah.
gives the countries that issue them
Uh-huh.
a lot of power in the global financial system.
Precisely.
Okay.
They can essentially dictate the terms of borrowing and lending
Yeah.
because they hold the keys to the most sought-after currencies.
Interesting.
But the study also highlights something even more intriguing.
Okay, what's that?
Global regulations,
Okay.
like the Basel Accords, which govern banks, actually increase the demand for these currencies.
Wait, so the rules that are meant to make the financial system safer are actually reinforcing this exorbitant privilege?
Yeah.
How does that work?
The Basel Accords,
Yeah.
in simple terms,
Okay.
are a set of international agreements
Mm-hmm.
that aim to ensure the stability of banks.
Okay.
One way they do this
Yeah.
is by requiring banks to hold a certain amount of reserves in safe assets.
Okay.
And guess what those safe assets often are?
Dollars and euros.
You got it.
So it's like a self-perpetuating cycle?
Mm-hmm.
The system is already tilted in favor of these countries.
Right.
And then the rules of the game
Mm-hmm.
double down on that advantage.
That's one way to interpret it.
Yeah.
And it gets even more interesting.
Really?
The paper suggests that rich countries
Yeah.
might also be acting as tax haven bankers
Okay.
for wealthy individuals from other parts of the world.
Hold on. Are we saying that rich countries are helping the global elite hide their money?
It's not as straightforward as that.
Okay.
But the research does indicate that a significant portion of the wealth
Yeah.
flowing into these rich countries
Mm-hmm.
isn't coming from foreign governments or corporations.
Okay.
It's coming from individuals.
Individuals.
And the researchers suspect that tax avoidance might be a factor.
So it's possible that wealthy individuals are using these countries
Yeah.
and their stable currencies
Right.
to shield their assets from taxes in their home countries.
It's a possibility.
That adds a whole new dimension to this, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It
Yeah.
suggests that this exorbitant privilege isn't just about countries.
Right.
It's intertwined with global wealth inequality
Okay.
and the intricate ways the ultra-rich manage their money.
Wow. This deep dive is really making me rethink the entire structure of the global financial system.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It seems like we're peeling back layers of complexity, and with each layer, the implications become more profound.
Yes.
It's a complex system for sure,
Mm.
but it's essential to understand it
Right.
if we want to address these imbalances.
For sure.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit
Right.
and talk about why this matters to our listener.
Okay.
Why should they care about this concept of exorbitant privilege?
Because whether we realize it or not,
Yeah.
this impacts all of us.
Okay.
These financial imbalances have real-world consequences.
Okay.
They influence exchange rates,
Mm-hmm.
interest rates,
Right.
and the flow of capital globally.
Okay.
This can hinder developing countries
Yeah.
from growing their economies
Right.
and lifting people out of poverty.
And let's be honest, it even affects things like the prices we pay,
Oh, yeah,
goods
definitely.
and services.
Touching our daily lives,
And
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
Understanding exorbitant privilege
Yeah.
helps us see those connections more clearly.
But knowing about a problem is one thing.
Right.
What can be done about it?
Right.
Does this paper offer any potential solutions? It does touch on some possible solutions,
Okay.
acknowledging their complexity
Yeah.
and the need for international collaboration.
Right.
One idea that's been floated
Yeah.
is a global tax on excess returns from foreign investments.
So essentially taxing those who benefit most from this exorbitant privilege
Right.
and using that revenue to support development in other countries.
That's the basic premise.
Okay.
It's a way to redistribute some of that wealth
Yeah.
and create a more level playing field.
Okay.
Another proposed solution involves establishing a new global reserve currency,
Okay.
one not tied to any single country or group of countries.
I've heard about that idea.
Yeah.
A currency managed by a global institution like the International Monetary Fund.
Right.
Wouldn't that help reduce the power imbalances
Yeah.
that come with a few dominant currencies?
That's the thinking behind it.
Okay.
However, such major changes to the global financial system don't happen overnight.
They would require significant time,
Uh-huh.
negotiations, and a great deal of political will.
For sure.
But as you said, acknowledging the problem and understanding how it works is the first step.
Right.
And that's what we're aiming for in this deep dive.
Definitely.
Yeah. It really is fascinating to consider
Right.
how these global systems operate,
Yeah.
often under the radar.
Mhm.
This paper does a great job
Yeah.
of not just presenting the problem,
Right.
but also prompting us to think about possible solutions.
Exactly.
And there's another layer to this
Okay.
that the paper doesn't explicitly address the ethical dimension.
Right.
Is it truly fair
Yeah.
that these gains are so heavily concentrated
Yeah.
among a handful of wealthy nations?
That's a big question that goes beyond pure economics,
Right.
touching on issues of global justice and equity.
It compels us to consider what kind of world we want to live in
Yeah.
and how we can structure financial systems to support
Right.
a more just and sustainable future
For sure.
for everyone.
Yeah, for everyone.
So by now, you've gained a solid understanding of exorbitant privilege and its impact on the world.
Yeah.
We've explored how it functions,
Okay.
debunked some common myths surrounding it,
Right.
and delved into the factors that drive it.
Yeah.
We even touched upon some potential solutions,
Mm-hmm.
although the path to those solutions is complex.
Definitely.
This deep dive has given you a lot to ponder.
A lot to think about.
What are your thoughts on what needs to change?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with this rich world club
Mm.
benefiting at the expense of others?
It's a tough question.
Or do you believe a more radical overhaul of the global financial system is necessary?
Yeah, it's something to consider for sure.
These are questions that deserve our attention
I agree.
because they ultimately affect all of us.
They do.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into exorbitant privilege.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep diving deep.